Hey guys, this is Derek, 4 in Tune. Well, I would like to start off this quick little intro. The job is done that I'm about to show you how to do it. Um, it took a lot of energy, a lot of frustration. I thought it was going to be easier than what it was, and it ended up being a pain in my ass. I would like to tell the young buck who is about to start this job, me, in here in a minute in the video, magic of editing, to just send this out and have somebody else do this for you, because you're going to lose your mind and you're going to be massively pissed off for probably 3 days. Then you're going to have to wait for a day or two for more parts to come in because you broke some stuff or you lost some stuff. So I'll get to that stuff later in the video, but uh, it is done. Um, I did an oil pan gasket on this with the vehicle staying in the engine. So yeah, I would tell that young buck to just kick this down the road and let someone else do it. The biggest hassle that you're going to have is that oil tube, the oil pickup tube, two 10 millimeters in the front, and then there's a 13 millimeter about 4 inches further back, and then all the way to the back of the pan, almost all the way back, is the second 13 millimeter. And you can't take the tube out until you get the oil pan down, but you can't get the oil pan down far enough to see one or possibly two of those screws, the 13s. They're almost impossible to get out. And if they're almost impossible to get out, you can imagine trying to put them back in without having the oil pan completely out of your way. So that is by far the most tedious part, is putting that oil tube back in place. The most dangerous part of this whole thing is obviously the hoisting of the engine, getting that up. It's probably 1,200, 1,500 pounds, pivoting kind of on the transmission mount, but finding a secure way and a backup to hold that engine all the way up against the top of the cowling that by the firewall. That's the most dangerous part of this whole job. Um, so just make sure whatever you do, however you choose to do it, that you have a plan B and a plan C if plan A fails at some point. So just be prepared in that regard, because your hands are going to be in places should something fail. I mean, it's just cutting your fingers off, cutting your wrist off. Just depends on where your hands currently are, you know. Yeah, there's a whole lot of introspective doing this one. So a couple other key points you need to pay attention to. Obviously, cleanliness of all the surfaces, not beating up the gasket when you're trying to put it back in, because it is a tight fit. Getting the #1 piston up in the cylinder bore, so that way the end cap on the rod end cap is as high as you can get it. That's going to help get the pan in and out easier. Use some zip ties. I think I used 4 or 5 of them just to hold the gasket in place while I was moving it around. I didn't use any Permatex gasket adhesive, none of that. What else? Well, the video is going to show you enough, but just know that you're going to struggle. It's a struggle fest. There were definitely a few outbursts, expletives, yeah. So, I feel like a disgruntled war veteran just by doing this one job.
Well, good morning, guys. I got a special treat for you today. Should be a quick video. I say quick, but it's probably not going to be quick. The whole process, anyway. Thank God for YouTube and the ability to make short, quick videos when you edit enough out. But today, I'm going back on the Ram. So this should be a quick 20 to 30 minute tutorial on how to replace the oil pan gasket on a 6.7 diesel. So, good news is I got my little clips for the rocker panel trim on the Mercedes. Autohouse AZ had them. Nice. So here we go. We'll get started on that, and hopefully this goes smoother than some of the videos I've seen online, because it doesn't look pretty. Step one, get vehicle preferably into a shop. You can do it outside. You got more space, but if it's a bit chilly, it's supposed to be like 55 today, which is actually 25, 30, carry the one, 40 degrees warmer than it was 3 days ago. But anyway, here's some of the things I'm going to be using. You're going to have to lift the engine up as high as you can get it. And that's going to be my, and my jack on the floor there, but that's going to be my primary lifting tools. I do have another jack, a bottle jack. If I need, I can get it in there and put it on the frame to help hold it in place. So preparation is key. Don't underestimate preparation. Big bolts, I guess, for the transmission mounts. Small stuff for the airbox out and the top filter out of the way. Oil, obviously, 3 gallons, something like that. And of course, I'm using Velcro, and it came with a new pickup tube gasket as well. I think this was like 40 bucks. I think this was eBay. Yeah, maybe it was eBay. I'm not sure. So anyway, let's get back to it. Step one, for me anyway, airbox coming out and the boot coming off the turbo. There's a 13 millimeter here, unclip here, red clip to unclip here. That'll come off, and then it's just sitting in a boot down there. We'll get clamp off here, possibly the clamp off down there, and then that's coming off, this and that. Then we also need to get back there and prevent a tube from breaking as we get this engine up. What is that, about 4 inches? Yeah, right up there, I think. We'll try to prevent that from breaking. Airbox out. These are the 2 holes for the airbox. I took this clamp out, wiggled this around a little bit. See how much movement we got down there. Not terrible. It's got a little bump in it here to make it fit. And of course, this is the spongy stuff. You're trying to work the airbox up and around. And watch the AC hose here. Other than that, this was a connection down here on the bottom that you want to get off. Don't pull on it too hard, but you got to pull the box up to get access to this. So just 3 clips, 1, 2, 3, and then, yeah, step 1, done. Just so we do a time check. Come on, 10:20. We'll see how long this job takes. So the CV filter is out, and it is 1 hose clamp here, that connector there. Then you've got 1 long one, a stud back there. Another stud goes here. As you can see, studs go in, this goes on top, and then the nut on top of those, generally. So the long ones go on here and there, and then there's one back there. That one, this one, that one. Cover comes off, filter comes out. You do need to take a dipstick out of the way and your oil cap, so prevent anything from falling back in there. Step 2-ish. Now I got to go back there and see about which connector may break when I lift the engine up. I don't know which. I think it's some kind of water tee or water pipe or something back there. I don't know. We'll see. Somewhere over there. Well, That's how that came out. And I didn't even crush it. When I took the hose off the nipple end here, all I did is crimp back here on the pinch clamp, slide it backwards, and then just twist it gently, and it slid off pretty easy. And when I got the hose off, these pieces were inside the hose. I didn't hear any crunching, nothing. And then the struggle is trying to get this with this lock ring off, and this did not want to come off very usefully. So now I got to go get one of these. Anyway, at least it's done and out of the way. And just so you know where that was, that came off of that. So it's a struggle. The struggle bus is here. I took the other boot off here because I don't know if all of this intake is gonna bump on this before that hits up there. I don't know, we'll see as we start lifting. And I still haven't decided on where I'm gonna lift or how I'm gonna use this and my cherry picker. I just don't know yet. So I think I'm gonna start draining oil now. Spending most of my time making messes. That is mostly cleaned up already, but that was the coolant leaking down. And then the oil is drained out. And that is just a 3/8 square head. So we're getting ready to go underneath and loosen up the motor mounts on this side and the other side, and then see about lifting points. Other than this one here, I would like to have another one kind of over here somewhere. And we'll figure out how to do this in tandem. Here's the setup up top. Again, this is only a backup for that. So lifting point there, and I just moved the bracket out of the way. Got a nice big fat bolt in there. So this bolt is just about 1.5 inches longer than the original one that I had laying around. So we'll see. Meanwhile, I'm just charging the battery a little bit. My Noco showing 2. Even though the battery seems to be fine, never had any issues with it. Can't hurt. So we'll hit that one up later this afternoon and top that one off too. So far, so good. We're gonna go underneath it now and we're gonna loosen up the motor mounts. One more thing I gotta do is I gotta get that fan shroud loosened up so that way I don't break the fan as it's coming up, because that is gonna definitely hit. So fan shroud loosened up. Well, I've taken this loose, mostly loose. Oh, now it's wiggling, nice. I got 2 on the other side, the bottom one here and the top one there. Now here, I think I'm gonna take right down to the turbo. If you can see that clamp, that's the 8mm that goes around the turbo. So I got that loosened up with a really long extension. And this should just pop off once I get the rest of these clamps loosened up. Yeah, I'll take this off from right here. And then we'll get this boot out of the way, and then we should be able to have a clear shot at the motor mount for the passenger side. Boy, it can never be easy, can it? Just this stupid little hose. Had to be a bitch. So now I got to figure out that part. So 2 parts now, that one and this one. And you watch. I didn't need to take this off. That's probably going to be the result here. But let's see what kind of visibility we have now. I mean, yeah. Probably could have seen everything from the bottom, maybe not. It's pretty solid. That's inside the subframe. Okay, but that is the motor mount right there. As you can see, it's got an open top. So I'll just loosen that and Do the same to the other side. I think this is the harder side. So, underneath passenger side frame rail, looking forward. Look up there. Hold on. I don't know if I need to remove these. I don't know if I need to do the turbo V-band clamp right there, but if you look straight through, excuse me, that is the back side of the motor mount for the passenger side. And it's got this, which makes me believe it's gonna hit something and stop it from spinning. I don't know, maybe I don't have to put a wrench on this side. We'll see. All right, time check. Yeah, I stopped caring. So I got, again, motor mount is loose on this side. It is an 18 millimeter. You don't have to hold the other side. Sorry if it's dark, but that one. Once you get it broken loose, which takes a minute and a lot of pain, you're gonna need a really long handled ratchet. 3/8, because a 1/2 inch is gonna be too big, but you need like 1.5 foot of leverage, 2 feet of leverage. So if you've got a 2 foot, 3/8 inch ratchet, that's perfect for this. It does need to be a deep well, but it is a 17 deep well, not much more space to work beyond 3/8. The other side, another pain in my ass. Ended up using the, yeah, it's down in there. You can get to it, that bad. You can get to it from the top. However, the only way I was able to get it broken loose is with a wrench. So you can get your hand right here and spin it right now. But you can get an open or a closed wrench, 18 millimeter, and then I put a 19 millimeter on top of that and used it for leverage. You have enough space coming up to do that, just to get it broken loose. And then once you get it broken loose, you can put a 3/8 inch ratchet on it, but you will not get that off with a 3/8 inch ratchet with an extension on it for sure. Again, unless you've got a 2 foot 3/8 inch, because you need the leverage and you've got nowhere to pull or push from. On top of that, I am taking the V-band off here for the EGR system, just in case. So I'm gonna tap this thing loose a little bit. I already got it loose, but I'll top that loose and get that moved out of the way a little bit, just in case. And for the record, let's go see what time it is. Yep, 1:52. Now, I will say I have taken phone calls, I've taken breaks up to the house, but not anything extreme. Okay, so we are up and out, kind of splitting the load a little bit. As you can see here, we are up and out of the, come on, where you at? There you are. Way above it, about 4 inches up. We still have a little space left up here, but I want to get underneath and start loosening some things. And this one also up and out. So I might have to go a little higher on this side. We'll see. It's time to take a break. There's a lot of little things nobody's telling you about, I promise you. So here, things have changed a little bit. Let me show you what we got going on. All right, we've gone to a straight up engine pulling setup here using the original factory eye. And on the other side, I'm still bolted down with, not this one, but that one right there. So we got the engine up. There's still some more space. I could get it up if I needed to. Shield is loose. I'm glad I did that because that popped free. I put my 3.5 ton jack underneath the crank pulley with a piece of wood to help stabilize there. I put my other jack underneath the frame back there. Should any one of these things up here snap or break, at least I have 2 backups in place to stop this thing from falling on me. There's that stupid little drip tray that I guess you're supposed to use when you're changing the oil on this thing. And what a pain in the ass. That, it is just popped into place. There's a plastic tab here. These little guys are holding it in. And then 2 over there. You can't get to them. You kind of got to guess where they are. This thing just kind of rattles around like, you know. But it covers, this whole seam here is where 3 or 4 of the bolts are for the oil pan. So you've got to get this out of the way, and it gives you another inch of clearance to get the pan out, because this thing sits on that subframe that you're trying to clear. Stupid. I don't know if I'm going to put it back in yet. I'm a little mad with it. So, all right, first thing we'll do, time check. It's 5:16. So this is 7 hours into this. I have it setting back down on its mounts now. I know it sounds awful optimistic, right? Like everything's good. What a pain in the balls. Pay the people $1,000 to do this, because I don't know how it's going to go back together. This one wasn't too terrible to get to. I took the wrong bolt out somewhere in this area, but because I thought it was this one, which I was able to access from the front of the vehicle once I had everything else loose and out of the way. These 2 are pretty simple to get to. You can move the pan around enough to get to that one when the engine is at its full tilt. So with all of that happening, there was no getting this thing out of here, jacking it up higher and saving this and leaving this installed. It wasn't happening. It was rubbing like a good 1/4 inch still against the head of this right here. You could see where it was pushing against that, trying to slide out. It just wasn't going to happen. This definitely needed to come out. So tomorrow I'm going to go clean this thing up. No, I'm not. That's going to be a Saturday project because I got to go back to work tomorrow. So Saturday, I'm going to come back in and start cleaning all of this mess up. What a train wreck. And then just pay somebody. It just is not worth the hassle. A little before and after. Thank you, brass bench. Well, it's day 2. 2 days later, but it's still day 2. And all I've gotten done is I cleaned up the oil pan a little bit. As you can see, it's still sitting there. And I'll take you underneath here in a minute and kind of show you where some of the key points of interest are going to be and where I had to lay in order to get some of these things off, especially this pipe. Sorry for the noise, but I'm going to get you under here to remember to do one final step before you quit after you get the pan off, which will probably happen because it's going to drive you batshit crazy. So I'm going to take you under and just remember to do one more thing before you walk away with all of your frustration. And this is what I'm talking about. So, what happens when you take an oil pan off? Oil drips. So, you're going to have a good 30 to 40 minutes of cleaning tools and prepping yourself to not get as dirty as you did last time. That's what I'm going to do. So I've already cleaned these. I've already cleaned the fender and the bumpers. I am getting the plastic scrapers because I haven't even gotten to the bottom of the engine block yet to get the old gasket off. But I do have this sanded down, buttery smooth, all the way around. feels good. I took 400 grit. I'm gonna put a little contact adhesive down here, and then my big gasket over yonder. So this is basically ready to go. I even did the sides. It's really nice, really clean. I can touch that and not be scared. If you can come up with a way where you don't need to use an engine hoist to lift this thing, whether you pull the hood off and use an overhead, that's the easiest, best way to do this, because having space in front of this is just priceless, honestly. So we'll go talk about a few things here. Coming in from the front, I'll try to get a separation here. Engine is down, sitting in its normal mount. The pan's not on. I just took, what time is it? I mean, I started at 10:30 and it's 3:15, maybe an hour for lunch. So all I've gotten done is the cleaning. I got the old gasket off. Bit of a pain in the ass, but it is off. I got my messes cleaned up from being stupid. That's all done. All right, so from the front, this side is the side that has all of the bolts on it for the pickup tube. So, boy, it's so awkward. We've got, this is the hole right here for the pickup tube. This is one of the M6, and that's the other one. Also, here, right there, is one of the bolts. Also, that's the 13 mil. And then the other one is way back yonder, second one from the end. That is where that one is the other one, the other 13 mil. So you got 13 mil back there, that 13 mil up here, and then those two where the gasket goes for the pickup tube. So you're gonna have to get those off. And if you've got the engine hoist in here, you're trying to lay across those bars, and it's a pain in the ass. The easiest way, I came in from behind the wheel and basically wormed my way completely underneath the middle of the truck and was able to get these things off with 1/4-inch ratchets and swivels and short extensions, because there is zero room getting your hand in there. All right, anyway, that's just the stuff you're looking at down here primarily. Well, I think today was going to be strictly cleaning, apparently. I got the engine raised again, was going to put the oil pan back in, and I found out that I think the tolerances are so tight when you get the engine at max height that the end cap for the number one piston rod is sitting lower than the others do at the low stroke. So you need to make sure that the number one is at least high or level or higher than the bottom of the oil pan mounting structure, the bottom of the engine. So yeah, getting that first cylinder up a little bit is going to help, because I couldn't even get this thing back in, and I didn't really feel like yanking and pulling that much more on my cowling. So I got the engine back down, sitting back in its brackets right now, and we'll get back to this later. So that's the tip. Get your number one piston as high as you can get it, or at least higher than the crank. That way the pan will slide back in with a lot less required room. Because I was banging on that, and I really didn't want to put it back up as high as I had it last time. And I should be able to get it in this next time we do this. But I ran out of time today, and really take your time doing this, and you'll keep your sanity. So also, this foam pad, spin that bad boy around, which I ended up ripping. Here's the other corner of it, or something like that. Yeah. So that foam pad goes between the transmission bell housing and the back of the oil pan. Why, I don't know. So if somebody knows what the purpose of that is, I don't know, maybe to absorb oil from the leaking rear main seal, but mine seems to be fine. Yeah, I don't know the purpose of that. So I don't think mine's gonna go back in. And it is really wedged in there. So I'll show you while I'm under here a couple of things that I've done. As you can see, I put some zip ties holding the gasket in place. Just about 5 of them in easy to reach locations. So that way, when I need it, I can just snip it off once I get a couple of bolts started and pull those things out. But I'll take you under here from the back side, behind the wheel. And of course I got the 4-wheel drive to make it even more complicated. I ended up taking this cover off too, hoping to get a little more clearance. So that's looking from the back to the front. And again, here's one hole right there for the oil pickup tube. That's a 13. And the other 3 are you're gonna have to get to those from the front because it's way up there. I accidentally took off this one or that one. I think that one, which wasn't the right one. But surfaces are clean. Things are looking pretty good. I'm gonna get some cardboard because there's probably gonna be a week before I can get back to this. So until my next available Saturday, this is where we're gonna leave it. So here's some of the gasket that came out. Yeah, I even got the plastic razor blades. Yeah, they suck, but it is what it is. Don't forget to put this back in, that one. However, this thing, really bad shape. Most of it was so brittle, it just snapped in my hands. This is the oily part from the front that was leaking. But yeah, I've seen better for sure. And that's a little bit of the mess of tools. So take your time. Don't rush it. Definitely don't do this alone, because if something snaps, hydraulics fail, chains, bolts break, whatever happens, this thing drops. That's, I don't know, 1,800 pounds dropping onto a subframe, which you're going to be underneath or have your hands in the wrong place. So definitely pay somebody to do this for you. Yeah, there you go. All right, I'm going to go in and manually crank the engine until I get that number 1 cylinder further up into the engine. And I'll show you what I'm talking about, why it's not working. Let's see. This is dedicated. Yeah, we're getting there. All right, well, I guess you can see it from here, but I'm gonna zoom in. It is above that one, below that one. So that is the cap on the bottom of that piston. And you see how low it's sitting? That I'm gonna rotate until it is flatter and out of the way so that the oil pan doesn't hit that bolt as it's sliding forward. That's all I'm really gonna do. I'm gonna do that through my hole right here. Wait, where is it? Here, this one. So that's it. Yeah, that's all we're gonna do. All right, well, that was easy. As you can see now, it is now above the surface of the bottom of the block. Come on, focus. There we go. That thing is up a good inch, so that should now allow me to slide this pan right in place. And then the hell of trying to put that pickup tube back in with the oil pan in the way. So there we go. Okay, we're 2 hours into this thing again. And we got the engine back up on the hoist. She's at max deflection again. And down here, the issue you're gonna run into is the ability to put that oil tube back on. And right now, this is kind of the deflection that you need to have that oil pan shifted to the passenger side as far as you can. So I've got somebody back on the rear holding the pan kind of up in front of the transmission, so it's almost in its natural state. Then the pan has to be forward and sliding sideways enough to get the front two. Oh, where are they? Come here. Boy, you like this stuff, I tell you. Have I told you to just hire somebody? Anyway, this is almost in the way right now, but there's the 2 bolts for the oil pickup tube right there. One's in the front, and then that one back there, the second one, with the gaskets in place. But you have to get this thing forward and pitched over at as much of an offset angle as you can to give yourself access. And I'll try to take you under here best I can to give you the underneath view. And that is going to give you your best access to get to the front 3 bolts. That's it. That's what you got. It is not fun nor easy. All right, gasket is officially in. Where is it? Right up in there. Where? I can't tell. Everything looks so different from under here when you're looking up. So yeah, that's the pickup tube. And we're just using this as a safety right now. But, where's my camera? Oh, way over there. Huh. There, that's better. So we're zooming in a little bit, and you'll see the pickup tube and the gasket squeezed in there. So that is torqued to 19 foot-pounds on the 10 mils, and then the 13s get 45 foot-pounds for the pickup tube. But she's in, and now we're gonna put 4 dabs of silicone in the corners, and then the pan will go back on. All right, engine is back down in its brackets or mounts. Nothing has been reassembled yet. I'm going home. It's 8:30. This was 4 hours. And I still have to reconnect everything. So the initial torque, I took everything underneath here down to a snug with a 1/4 inch drive. And then all the way around, starting in the middle, working your way out laterally across from each other, working your way out. Then I went around and I put everything at 10 foot-pounds, and then went back around everything else and did 19 foot-pounds. It took 4 hours, 4 hours to put the 4 bolts in for the pickup tube because the oil pan has to stay in the way. Like I said, you can move the front of it off to the side just a little bit. That was everything it had, and I put everything to stress today. I started the oil pickup tube with the rear one first because the front of the pan is so shallow, it kind of keeps the front of the pipe kind of high anyway. So if you start on that rear oil pickup tube screw, you can probably get that in first. Then I moved to the front and got the 2 10 mils in, and then I moved to that 13 with that thing with the oil pan just pushed out of the side just enough, like not another millimeter of space. So once the tube was in and everything was torqued there, again, those were 45 foot-pounds, and then 10 foot-pound or 19 for all of the 10 millimeter screws. So yeah, this is just going to be captioned with, don't try this at home, folks. All right, there'll be more tomorrow. See you tomorrow. Just a quick video of some of the tools I ended up using. There's my 3/8. There's my 1/4 inch torque. There's my 1/2 inch torque. I didn't use this, but it was out just in case. Flashlights, razor blades. Here's the long 3/8 that I'm going to use. I think this is 20 inches Icon to get the motor mounts tight again, because I don't even think that last, that's what she said, last 3 inches is going to matter for leverage. But I mean, yep, all of them. I think everything on there I used. And then these are the most prevalent ones. 1/4 inch set, the 3/8 short stubby on one side and a 1/4 inch on the other. But extensions, ratchets, scopes, you name it. Hell, even a tape measure, because I was cutting wood to support extra support underneath on the motor mounts, just in case it decided to drop anyway. But engine's back down again. Got the one of the batteries on the charger right now, so we'll get that sorted out and get this thing slowly back together. First thing I think is going to be that V-band, then the shroud, and then I'll put this bolt back in here. That'll take care of most of the things on this side, actually, minus the motor mount. And then on this side, it's just airbox stuff. The rest of the fan shroud here, and then the top of the motor put back together. And then we'll get that 90-degree back on there to get my heater supply hose sorted out. And I even disconnected the hood light just to prevent any kind of draw. I'm glad I did, because I don't think I would have cared after the end of the first day if I let this thing trickle down to 0 overnight. I just wanted to get away. All right, well, it's dark and I'm lazy, but that motor mount is tight, 75 Newton meters. This one also, the boot is back on, but that hose was a bit of a bitch. However, it's in now. The new elbow is in, it's a Dorman. Seems like it works. Next step is fan shroud, I think. And then I'll do the V-band over on the EGR. And then when those two are done, then we can about wrap this up with putting that filter back in, the air box, and we'll be complete. So while it's still fresh in my mind, V-band clamp is in. Forgot what this bolt had, this extra 16 laying around. Pretty solid, stout one too. I forgot what that was for, and then I realized it was for the clamp. Swung that. It was completely blocked by the hose itself. But fan shroud is in, all 4 corners. Everything's bolted down there. So that's this whole side over here. Got the filter back in on the top. Connection is made back there. Water filters or water connections tight back there. Got the boot back on all the way up here to the air box. Bracket for the upper part of the fan is in. There's 1 nut and 2 screws that go in there. I just loosened 1 nut, took the other bolt and took the other bolt out, and this was loose enough to flop around a little bit, and of course that one there. But so everything up to this point is done. Not a whole lot to prepping this thing. It's all about the oil pan and that pickup tube. That's what takes forever. So we're getting there. Okay, everything is back together as I want it right now anyway. While I had the air box out, I decided to do the air filter too. It's a K&N, so it's soaked and drying out right now. But air box is open, all the connections are connected. Let me see, covers. I have no bolts left over, which that's the first that's ever happened to me. But I got nothing left over, and everything went back as advertised. So here we go. We're gonna get this thing fired up. And I got, I think, 2.5 gallons of oil in it right now. All right, she runs, no crazy noises. And we'll give the oil a quick check here once things get settled back down in a minute or two.
There's nothing leaking underneath it.
I'll connect the light back up because that is still disconnected, and I think we are a job well done.
I guess it's more than well done. Fantastic job.
I'm gonna make sure my fitting for the heater, that 90-degree adapter fitting, is not leaking. Early morning hours. Truck's been sitting inside all night. We'll see what kind of leak we have. We're gonna find out together if I still have a crank seal leak or if it was all oil pan. We're gonna find out here momentarily. Hey, we still have an oil leak. What do you bet? It's officially the crank seal now. Turn the light on. Where are you at? Yeah, I think it is definitely gonna come from up top there. I will say, however, yeah, that's the front crank seal. It's not even connected, but it's blowing back. However, this is 10% of what used to be here in the morning, so we are off to the right direction. Well, not everything's a win. take it. Yeah, after the effort that goes into this, was it worth it? I don't know. That's a question for another day.